Well, for this video, I'm staying in this book, Making Wood Boxes with a Bandsaw by Tom Crabb. This will be the fourth one of the boxes I've made out of there. And according to the writing along with this project, this is kind of a standard box making technique right here for a bandsaw. He calls it a gnome home. And you can see it's just one cut here and one cut out here. Then of course you got to make your fronts and backs on your drawers, but and he said this is kind of a, like I say, a very standard thing to do with a bandsaw. This is one version of it. And of course I'm doing it with a scroll saw. I am downsizing these. His projects are a little larger than mine, but I'm downsizing them so that I can make the cuts easily, and it makes a nice little box. Of course, I'll cut this out, then I'll cut what I'm doing, the same thing I did in the last one. I've got a piece of 1/8 inch, it's a little larger than 1/8, but it's not quite, it's a little larger than 1/16, not quite an 1/8, I don't think. Anyway, regardless what the thickness is, it's just right for to make the front of that. It's a piece of yellow heart that came with a seconds package, and I'm gonna cut the drawers first. And then before I cut the outside cut, I got another piece I'm gonna put on the back, just like I did with the last one. So I have me a back plate to put on it. And this way, this works real well because then the drawer fronts match up with the front. You lose a little bit when you cut the back off the box and re-glue it, but it's not much. And it works out real well, at least it did on the last one. So I'm gonna cut this with I'm not gonna have to drill any entry holes. I'm gonna cut it with a number 9. And I'll start right here and cut that inner cut, and then come around and cut and then layer this back on and cut the back, or at least the outside. So let me get started on that. It'll take longer to make the drawers than it will to cut this out, but I think it's going to be a nice looking little box. Okay, I had one problem I didn't anticipate, and I'm trying to make a workaround for it. Make the drawer, I have to cut the back of it off, and the way I'm doing this procedure, and then cut the inner part out, and then glue the back on. And then I have this other piece that was cut with it that'll fit on the front. Got those laying around here somewhere. Still got the pattern on them, but anyway. But that's too tall for the scroll saw. That's taller than I can cut with my scroll saw by a good quarter or better of an inch. So what I've done here is I've cut this piece to more or less match, and I've tacked it on with super glue in these areas outside this cut area. And I'm going to cut that, so I'll cut this piece out along with that so it'll match, hopefully, and fit back inside there. I can glue it inside to make the back of the drawer. Now, that may not work, it may not fit properly. If it doesn't, then I'll just go back and cut me another piece like this for a back. But I'm going to try this first and see if I can make it work. And one other thing that I did wrong cutting this, I said I was going to cut it with a number 9, and I decided at the last minute to pull a 12 out and cut it. And that was okay, except the configuration of the number 12s I have wasn't real good for ripping, and that's a lot of ripping and cutting with the grain, especially around this outer one. And it was fairly difficult to cut. I got it cut, but it was more difficult than I would like because that blade just didn't really match the project well. But anyway, I got it cut out. Now I'm going to go, I'll move back to a 7, and I'm going to try to cut that and see if I can make that piece that comes out fit inside. Now I may have trouble getting this piece off. I shouldn't have a lot of trouble, but if I can probably pop it off and sand it down if I need to. So I'm going to get it over the saw and see if I can cut that piece out and make that backing piece work. Well, as you can see, that worked. That made a real nice back on that drawer. I got all 3 of them done. Did them all the same way as I did that one. I just temporarily super glued a piece on each one and then cut it so that would match. And it matched better than I really thought it would. I was afraid there'd be too much kerf out of it, but I pulled that together a little bit with clamps when I glued it in and wedged it down at the bottom so it come out with no gaps. And I really liked the way that turned out. It was one way to solve the problem, not being able to cut the back of the box off with a scroll saw. I could have gone to another saw, but I didn't really want to, so I wanted to do this all with a scroll saw. So what I got to do now, I'm going to glue the fronts on these drawers. Got to cut me some pulls to glue on them. And then I got to glue the back on the main body. And I got to glue the front on the main body. And what I'm going to do, like I did the last one, I'm going to use the Dremel to round all the corners on this, try to make that like a little beaded area around, raised area. And that's what I'm going to try to do. It worked real well on the last one. I should be able to do it with this one. So let me get started gluing on this, and I'll cut me some pulls. And that little bit of gluing, all I'll need to do is some carving and then some finishing. And there is the finished product. I'm pleased with the way it came out. I had to adjust as I went to get those drawers made, but they turned out really well, I think. And that's finished with a little bit of spray enamel, clear enamel. Like I said, I believe that's aspen. I'm not sorry, fir. I believe that's fir. And this is yellow heart. The front and the back is yellow heart, and the little drawer pulls are mahogany. I got those patterns out of another box making book that I have. They had some patterns for pulls. These are actually supposed to have a little hole in them. I just left them solid. They're easier and quicker to cut. And I like the way they look. They kind of match that yellow heart nicely. So if you like that, hit the like button. I'm going to continue in this book. I'm kind of enjoying these little projects. And you have to get creative with them to adapt them in some cases. He's got some square boxes I'm going to try to make, some very unusual things. He calls this one Gnome Home. He says that's, I'm sorry, yes, Gnome Home, that's correct. And he says that's a common project to make on a bandsaw. It's really simple. It's just 2 cuts. And of course, I did it exactly like a bandsaw. I didn't draw any entry holes, or drill any entry holes, and it worked out great, I think. I would have should have chosen a different blade, like I said earlier. I had a little trouble cutting it because my blade wasn't really the right configuration for ripping, which there's a lot of ripping in this one. You're going with the grain and a lot of the cuts. But it worked out, and I think it turned out nice. So hit the like button. If you're not subscribed, hit the subscribe button, and we'll try to make some more unusual boxes. I'm really enjoying this. And we'll see what I can come up with next. So thanks for watching. I hope to see you in the next video.